Hello and welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for October of 2023. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
And I'm Julia Mijas, and I'm in San Francisco, California.
Let's take a look at what's happening this month. Hey, Capricorn. Well, what a relief it is that Pluto is going to be leaving your sign this year. Pluto moves super slowly, and no doubt you've heard way more than you would rather about Pluto's travel along your sign, Capricorn, which he's been doing for the past 15 years. But this is the last one. Thank goodness. You can imagine Pluto is standing on third base, getting ready to steal home, and he's going to pick his foot off of third base and begin that run on October 10th. And that's because on that day, Pluto turns direct. You can tell that because the little red RX symbol that was there, signifying Pluto retrograde, goes away by October 11th. So Pluto is getting ready to leave your sign, finishing out the final degrees of Capricorn by the end of this year, 2023, and moving on into Aquarius to stay. So Pluto is traveling along through 27, 28, and 29 degrees of Capricorn. And if you have anything in your chart in those final 3 degrees of Capricorn or Cancer or Libra or Aries, that part of you, that planet in your chart, is going to be going through the final phases of its transformation for the year. That means that if you feel like you've been lost in the dark, in a state of mystery and being forced to dig into things that make you really super uncomfortable and going through big changes, that process is coming to a closure. And again, like I said, oh, what a relief it is. With the new year, Pluto is going to move on into your second house. And there he's going to start messing with your finances, but that is then, and this is now, and we'll deal with that when it comes. Next thing I want to talk about is Juno. She starts the month traveling through your 8th house right here in the sign of Leo. Juno is the asteroid goddess to do with relationships, and she's spending much of the month traveling in tandem with Venus. So we have the 2 relationship goddesses together. Juno has to do more with the committed side of relationship. She can show up in your business life in the form of a business partner or in the form of a consulting type of a business where people consult with you for their benefit. Maybe because you're a lawyer or you're an advisor of some kind, even a therapist. Now, Juno's travel along your 8th house, however, could stir up some rather deep stuff in your committed partnership. Again, whether that partnership is a business relationship or a personal one, perhaps a spouse. The 8th house is the house of psychological depth, transformation and metamorphosis, profound change. It's a house of intimacy. So Juno's passage along this house a long time, and you decide to, re-engage with that part if it's kind of gone fallow for a while, or if you decide to bring some consciousness to your sex life, improve it by paying attention to it while Juno passes through this house in the lovely sign of Leo. But also this transit can go much deeper, and it can reveal other aspects of your relationship that have been lying hidden, and that can be messy, but it can also lead to deeper intimacy. And in your business life, if you have a business partnership and some stuff comes to the surface that you didn't know about, or if you feel moved to show them some stuff that they didn't know about, this can lead to a deepening of trust after all the mess has moved, away. Next thing I want to say is that Juno is going to move on into Virgo right there on October 17th, which is your 9th house. This is a house of growth and expansion, travel, and multiculturalism. While Juno is passing through your 9th house, if you are single, It's a really great time for you to date beyond your usual dating pool. You might find yourself traveling and meeting somebody particularly interesting or attractive. And if you are partnered, which is more likely since I'm talking about Juno here, that I should address, your partnership life. And if you are in one, then this is a really great time to travel with your spouse, to explore, expand, adventure, maybe take a workshop together, grow together as a couple and as individuals within that couple. So this can be a really great time for having adventures with your spouse. Now I want to talk about Ceres. And here she is, spending the month traveling through your 11th house in Scorpio, a sign that she's really not comfortable in. Scorpio is her sign of detriment. It is opposite to her nature. Ceres rules Taurus, and Scorpio is the opposite of that. So Ceres is the ultimate material girl. She likes to bring a certain grounded pragmatism wherever she goes. She is generally preoccupied with themes to do with the physical world, like the food that we eat, how we are in our bodies, and the money that we earn, save, and spend. She is traveling through the 11th house, which is kind of like a laboratory for experimentation. So you should definitely beware of experimenting with your money during Ceres transit through this house, because this can destabilize her quite a bit. You might feel moved to experiment, but it's good to be cautious. And one concern to have is that Scorpio, being where Ceres is placed, Scorpio's placement of Ceres could make her less practical than usual and a little bit prone to emotional tidal waves, shall we say, like urges, right? And so your judgment and discernment might not be all that it could be. And it might instead make more sense to feel into trends before making investments. So if that is something that you already know how to do, like you've been investing for a while and you know how to notice the trends and follow them, then this could be a fruitful transit, but do beware of experimenting. And I also want to say that because the 11th house is a house of community and groups, that this can be a really great time to join a dieting group, for example, or a body sculpting class or something like that, where you can, while surrounded by other people who share your goals, accomplish something relative to your body that you want to accomplish. Hey, Julia, what's the news about Venus, Mars, and Mercury for the Capricorns out there?
Well, always good news to hear about Venus, the planet of love, beauty, and pleasure. She starts the month in your 8th house. This is a house of intimacy, psychology, and money. So with Venus here, you might share more money with a partner. Maybe they start a joint credit card and they have better credit. So it's a better card for you both overall, or they put you on their health insurance. Venus in the 8th is also a wonderful time for merging more intimately with a partner, both physically through sex or even psychologically. Then after the 8th, Venus enters your 9th house. This is a house of travel, education, law, as well as adventure of all kinds. And Venus in the 9th really wants to go on a pleasure trip. You might have some opportunities to kind of get out there, experience something new, or go somewhere new. Venus in the 9th house is a wonderful time if you're at school or doing any type of higher education. You might really love learning this month. And if you are dealing with a messy legal affair, then Venus in the 9th might help with negotiation and mediation too, which can go a long way. Now, Mars, planet of action and activity, starts the month in your 10th house of career and reputation. So Mars is a very driven planet, but he can run into conflicts as well. And in the 10th house, this could be coming from your workplace, maybe with clients, maybe with customers or coworkers, or even authority figures. That can include your parents, a teacher, a police officer giving you a ticket. You might have some flare-ups with the authority figures in your life with this transit. However, it is a fabulous transit for getting so much stuff done at your job, getting through projects, working overtime, or if you're finding a new job, doing the research you need to get a little bit closer to something that might be more satisfying. Then on the 11th, Mars enters your 11th house. This is a house of groups and friends and long-term goals in life. And Mars here is very driven, almost feeling a bit impatient about getting closer to any kind of long-term goal you've had for a while. This is traditionally the house of hopes, wishes, and dreams. So the stuff that takes a little while to finally get in your life, whether it's a new house or opening a business or writing a book, Mars in the 11th house can get a lot of work done through a group. So if there are any teams in your life, work teams, or maybe in your personal life, you work with groups, it can be a fabulous transit for getting a lot done. However, just be cautious because Mars can get a bit competitive with people in groups. Maybe at your recovery program, maybe in a gaming circle, you're getting very competitive, and even among your friends too. Now, Mercury, the planet that rules your mind, is, direct in the sky this month. He starts off in your 9th house. He's only there for the first few days. Mercury has a lot in common with the 9th house because both of them have to do with learning. Both can enjoy travel. So this is a wonderful time for planning your next trip, maybe strategizing about some legal affair in your life, maybe learning something new at school or just in your personal life. Then by the 4th, Mercury enters your 10th, where he's going to be for the rest of the month. Mercury in the 10th is very good if you have to do any type of public speaking, because this is a public house and Mercury represents your voice. Mercury in the 10th house might also be a fabulous time for doing any type of maybe research or learning or strategizing that has to do with career. If your career is Mercury related at all, where maybe you're speaking, teaching, doing sales, being an agent in some way, Mercury in the 10th can be a very fruitful time at the job. Great transit for writing. If you're looking for a new job, great time to work on your CV. Then by the 19th, Mercury conjoins the Sun while direct. We call that Greater Epiphany Day. And this is a wonderful time for insights and revelations. So definitely keep track of the 19th. And since this is happening in your 10th house, you could be getting some insights about your career, maybe about a project, the next project you want to work on. Maybe you're thinking of switching careers. Also, you could be getting some insights about your reputation, your public status in this world, maybe things that you can do to improve it as well.
Hi, Jamie here. Horoscopes and moon videos are fun, but they don't go very deep, really. If you want depth and personal clues, you'll want to join our monthly live workshop where you can talk with a real astrologer about your own chart. This month's topic is undergoing Pluto transformations with power and grace. Because Pluto transits feel like a long, dark night of the soul, and psychological death and rebirth is hard for all of us. In the workshop, I'll explain how to navigate these biggest of all life's changes smoothly. This workshop is expressly for our Demigod Patreon subscribers who pay only $15 a month for access to live events like this one. It's easy to sign up at the Patreon link in the description below. I'd love to see you there. Now let's get back to the video. Well, eclipse season has come. 2 eclipses are happening, and eclipses do tend to happen every 6 months. So it's very normal to be having eclipses several times a year, and they frequently happen in pairs, although sometimes they come singly or in triples. This particular eclipse season begins with a solar eclipse in Libra. A solar eclipse is always built on a new moon. So here you see the sun and the moon together. The moon is eclipsing the sun. And an eclipse is a time when we're forced to look at our shadow. It's often uncomfortable. A solar eclipse is a time when we're forced to look at our shadow through behavior. Usually it's our own behavior, although sometimes it could be the behavior of somebody in our life. And so this is an outer world eclipse, by which I mean it's not happening all inside you. Other people can see the action as well. This particular eclipse is also a little bit special because it's happening at the South Node. The South Node is a point of releasing. So this is a releasing eclipse. And so the main point about it is that during a solar releasing eclipse, you want to be aware of your own behavior and how your behavior may be driven by shadow material within you, the sort of stuff that you don't like to look at every day, that you would rather put behind you. I'm talking like, Carl Jung style shadow material. And watch, so look to your behavior and be willing and ready to let go of that behavior and stop doing that behavior, because it's probably not serving you. It's probably holding you back in some way. Now, we've named this eclipse Stop Placating, Honesty Heals. And we've named it that because the sun occurring in Libra can be quite the people pleaser. This lands in your 10th house of career and authority. And so it might be that you have been being too nice, too accommodating, too amiable, too easy, and just negotiating all your rights away. And just, in that effort to be the nice guy, to be sweet, that you've been losing your power. And therefore, you're just not shining the way that you could at work, especially now with the sun traveling through your 10th house. So, so it's time to, observe that behavior, even though it's uncomfortable. Nobody likes to look at their shadow, and be ready to let some of that stuff go. The honesty part comes from Chiron and the North Node that are over here. The North Node shows us the high road, the path out of this pickle, which is an Aries path, which is to say by being direct, honest, transparent, authentic, a strict no phonies zone. And then Chiron is saying that honesty can heal. And that's a wonderful thing. And then the second eclipse I want to tell you about is coming up on the 18th. And that one is a lunar eclipse in Taurus, which lands in your 5th house. Right here's the moon in Taurus being eclipsed by the sun over here in Scorpio. So this eclipse happens along the financial axis of signs. Taurus has to do with the money that's mine, my own. It belongs to an individual. You could draw a circle around it. You know that you possess it. Whereas Scorpio rules money that is shared, perhaps in a marriage with a spouse, perhaps in a household through utilities and rent, perhaps in a business with a business partner, and also perhaps through debts and investment. So this particular moon we're calling Release Ties, Lean into Independence. And that's because this is a lunar eclipse and it is an initializing eclipse. A lunar eclipse is built on a full moon. So we see the sun and the moon opposite each other. And so this is built on a full moon. And a lunar eclipse is emotional. It's more internal, as opposed to that solar eclipse I described a few minutes ago, which is more external and more actional, more about your behavior. So a lunar eclipse is about how you feel, and it can really stir up strong emotions in you. Now, the moon actually does really, really well in Taurus. The moon is, as we say, exalted in Taurus. That's because the moon is a very moody planet. As Shakespeare put it, the moon, the inconstant moon that ever changes in her nightly orb. And here's the moon in Taurus, which stabilizes it. But part of that stability is tied to money and physical security. So this is a moon that's really looking to stabilize emotions, which have been stirred up because this is an eclipse, through establishing financial security and independence and autonomy and separateness. So this one way that this can show up is that under this moon, you may feel like you want to establish your own financial world separate from larger pools that you have been participating with. For example, You're a young adult going out into the world on your own. You want to start to depend on yourself and let go of some of the apron strings of your family that maybe has been supporting you. And maybe there have been some negative things that have come with those apron strings, which you're just as eager to let go of. So this can be a good occasion for doing that. On the other hand, let's say that you're an older person, that you've been married for some years, and that you've got your finances very wrapped up with your spouse. This could be a really great occasion for separating some of that out and getting some awareness around what's yours, what's your partner's, what do you share, and where are the lines around the various pockets of money. Now, this could be a very upsetting occasion because it is an eclipse. But because the moon is with the north node, this is an initializing eclipse. It's an opportunity to lean into the future in a good way and wrap up a nice present for yourself that you get to unpack in the form of future good karma. So handle your emotions in a way that will make the future better, not worse, under this eclipse. So then the last piece that I want to talk about is the seasonal change, where the sun enters the sign of Scorpio, and it's going to do that on the 23rd. And so in the earlier part of the month, we see a lot of activity in your 10th house in the sign of Libra, bringing your preoccupation and your attention to the realm of career and authority, to your progress along your career track. Are you building expertise? Are you acquiring the shine of authority? Are you, radiating the royal expertise that you have? And all of those things very much speak to having the sun particularly traveling through your 10th house here in the beginning part of the month. But the preoccupation changes towards the latter week of the month when things gather here in Scorpio in your 10th house. And as the sun moves into in your 11th house, they gather in your 11th house, bringing your preoccupation out of the realm of career and into the realm of community, which is a very 11th house theme. So this is a house of community, tribe, friendships, and it can really amp up your social life when planets start to fill up this house. So you may find that you're wanting to go out with friends more. You're wanting to build on your friendships. You're wanting to deepen your friendships, get closer to your friends, feel that you can rely on them more. And also, Capricorn, another thing to keep in mind is that your 11th house is filled with Scorpio, which does suggest that you're not the kind of person who wants to go to big parties and hang out with tons of people. You're the kind of person maybe who wants to have a few friends that you're really close to, that you can really rely on, that value your loyalty and your depth, of sharing. And so this can be a transit when you get closer to those friends by being more intimate with them, by really telling them what you're going through, by listening warmly and expressing your caring for what they're going through. So this is a really good month for that. So the sun moves into your 11th house on October 23rd. It's going to travel this house for about 30 days as it moves along through the sign of Scorpio. And the sun always tells us where to shine the sunlight of your attention. Attention is a wonderful thing. Like sunlight, it helps things to grow. And while the sun is passing through your 11th house, the very best thing you can do with this 30-day period is to pay high quality attention to your friends, draw closer to them, and really invest in those friends that you care the most about.
Well, that's all for today. If you love Pandora Astrology's free and informative horoscopes, then please do hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share our horoscopes with your friends.
You can find out so much more about how this month's transits affect you in very personal timing in our monthly Patreon workshops. Find the link in the description below to get started. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos.
Bye-bye.